ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between.
He's a South Texan poppy poet living that hashtag middle-class gay life. It's Chibi.
She's a little bit Selena, a little bit J-Lo, and a whole lot of Pisces. It's Rocky.
And this is Words and Shit,
the show where you get to know the person behind the poetry.
Brought to you by Write Art Out
and Gemini's Productions. Hola, amiga.
Hola.
Aquí estamos siguiendo, superando, finding our way forward in life. I think she has arrived, okay?
Oh, has she now? Because she does. You have.
We've come a long way.
We really have. We really have come a long way, Jimmy.
It's been a journey, but I think for a lot of us, our journey starts with our family. And so, I'm curious, are you close with your family? What is your relationship to your family, or what was it?
Oh my goodness. So with my family, mostly from my maternal side, we're very, very close. But when I was in Texas and living in Texas, it was just me and my mom and my brother and my grandmother. And it was very small. So I think I had always yearned for that large family dynamic. And then moving back to New Jersey and New York, I feel like I've been mentioning multiple cousins, and it's just not been the same one cousin. It's been 20 different cousins. And ultimately I have all this family. And they are so supportive, specifically with me being queer. I have very more traditional and immigrant cousins that might not have the language, and they might not be PC all the time, mm-hmm. But they try. The other day, one of my cousins, such a Jersey girl, very direct, curses up a storm. I definitely think she could be a mob wife, and thrive. And we were talking about me dating, and she was telling me how she was explaining to her best friend how I'm attracted to individuals, right? Basically, what is pan or queerness in general. And she's like, how doesn't one gender or the other? It's just the person. And depending on the person, that is how she is attracted to them. And she doesn't see gender. And I was like, you're doing it. I was like, I'm cheering her on. And she's like, yeah. And her, it's very fluid for her. And I was like, what a beautiful way of describing who I am.
Aww.
Yes.
And I'm sure that took a lot for her to understand that, right? The journey that you need to go on in order to be able to, one, understand it, and then two, defend it. What story?
Yes, years. Because I think she just only knew lesbiana. And it was not in her vocabulary. Yeah. She's gay or lesbiana. And then she's like, what is bi? So I've been really, really fortunate. And again, sometimes your most unlikely family members who, again, are not very PC, that you're like, what the fuck is going to come out of their mouth? And they're here defending you. Because that's what family does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
How about you, family? Family? Yeah, you're my chosen family. You are part of my chosen family. How are you doing, fam? How about you with your family? Because your family is gorgeous, by the way. I love your family. So I mean, into it.
It's been a journey. I came out pretty young while I was still in high school. And it was definitely a moment of not understanding, right? I come from a very Mexican household that is definitely had the remnants of machismo, there. And it was also dating myself again, the early 2000s, right? When it wasn't the popular culture and the media was not as progressive as it is now, into where we do see more of ourselves, right? In media. And so it took a lot of understanding. And I think distance was kind of important in terms of our journey. I graduated early from high school so that I could get out very quickly, because I didn't feel like I could embrace my multitudes, right? Because I contain a lot in me. And when I arrived at Austin, which is where I went to college, was where I felt like I could truly like explore myself and be myself, right? And figure out what that means and try to expand the multitudes that live inside me. And I think that distance also helped in terms of understanding, right? Because when I would come home, it was like, well, this is just who I am. And, you know, you kind of have to learn to accept it, because at the root of everything was always love, right? And again, seeing folks that you wouldn't necessarily like. It took my dad a long time, you know, but eventually he understood it. And like having him at my wedding, having him introduce my husband as my husband to other family members or to, you know, like friends of the family is a big deal, right? And learning that language and acceptance. And it's a journey, right, to get to it. And in our conversation with Lacey Roop, I think they explored that journey, coming from, you know, the swamplands of Mississippi, also arriving, ironically, in Austin, Texas, which is where I first met them also. And what it means to get through that journey is something that they talked about, not just in our interview, but in their collection, We All Make It Out in the End. And it was very heartwarming, I think. And I think we both found a really strong connection with Lacey.
We really did. We really did. Especially knowing that the people that love us are humans and they're flawed. And like you said, they have multitudes. And aren't we always just trying to do our best to love the people that we love fiercely? Yes. So this conversation was beautiful. And Lacey Roop is a queer, non-binary poet and performer. They perform their work nationwide at bookstores, festivals, and college campuses. They have previously ranked 6th in the world of the Woman of the World Poetry Slam, a former Austin Poetry Slam champion, and have been featured on PBS's Roadtrip Nation, which reaches over 60 million households worldwide. Their work is a powerful exploration on gender and sexuality, identity, and the complexities of being human. A Mississippi native, they currently reside in Austin, Texas with their spouse and 2 incredibly large dogs, Cassiopeia and Artemis. Here is our conversation with Lacey Roop.
Hey, Lacey, welcome to Words and Shit. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. I know we were talking a little bit behind backstage. That I've known about you for a long time, and you've been in the scene for years. I would say even decades, even so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. I had no idea. I would still be here and still doing poetry, but I'm not complaining. I'm just, glad to be alive.
Pretty much.
Published Lacey's first book now, 11 years ago? 10 plus years ago. So yeah. So a whole decade plus of incredible work and incredible poetry. And so we're just excited to dive into getting to know you a little bit better and having more people find out about you and your work. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
So before we kind of dive into your abundant history of just writing, I like to do a little check-in just so we can kind of have a feel of how we're navigating the session. So if you can, Lacey, can you please tell us how your heart is today?
How my heart is today. It feels like it's melting and the literal and figurative way. It's been so hot. I know you're in Brooklyn, but we're here in Texas, and I think we're on day 43 of consecutive triple digit of heat, which you just get delusional, I don't know if I'm feeling my heart or my brain or my feet or, it's just living inside of a hairdryer. So, I haven't had much time to think about how my heart really feels because I'm just trying to air everything, even my internal organs. But in general, yeah, I mean, I'd say that I'm feeling pretty centered, and there's no kind of hardships or ill that I'm experiencing. So yeah, I'm in a good spot.
I totally feel you. As the fellow Texan in the room, Lacey's in Austin. I'm a little further south in San Antonio, and yeah, it's hot, and our electricity grid is sending us warnings that we might do like rolling blackouts because Texas, I don't know. It's been a summer. It's definitely been a summer. But we're excited to share some space, and I mean, let's bring the fire. The poetry is always fire.
Yes.
But maybe chill a little bit and relax. Like, I think we're all very much ready for fall to get here, and this to ease into it. So to ease into our conversation, we like to start with a game that we call speed dating. So we're going to ask you a series of questions, 4 questions to be exact, and we encourage you to answer as concisely as possible. And then maybe we'll come back and we'll, dive into the topics if we want to investigate your answers a little further. Okay. So, First question. If you could be reincarnated as any animal, which would it be?
I would say I was going to go with elephant because I'm fascinated by them, but lately I've been really exploring sea creatures. And so I think I would take the perspective of a whale, because there's no way I'm getting into what is it called? Submersible? The submarines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm never going to do that, but I could, if I was in a whale body, then I could safely and comfortably explore the ocean, which seems great. But so yeah, I would say whale.
Is there a specific kind of whale? That's my follow-up question.
Probably, yeah. Probably killer whale.
Yeah. I feel like that's a new thing.
You.
I know, like, throughout the summer, right? I think it's killer whales and like the orcas that are just like organizing and like attacking like the rich in the city or in the sea, right? No?
Yeah. I mean, they're. I think they're very diplomatic. Well, they're called killer whales, but they're not really that. They're not too terrible. That's just their nickname. I believe killer whales and orcas are the same thing. But yeah, they have a sense of community, and and I believe there's a sense of humanity among nature that we as humans don't have, although we have named humanity after us. Or if you really look at the animal kingdom, they are the best conduits, I think, of showing grace to one another. And the grace of the sea is something that I've been kind of drawn to lately. So yeah, orcas are cool. We should protect them, let them do their thing.
Absolutely. They understand that capitalism is the real evil here.
Yes, basically.
Yes. Yes, they do. They do.
All right. So my question is, what is your favorite album that you have on repeat?
As of late, I have been really enjoying Stick Season by Noah Kahn. He's just like a singer-songwriter out of Maine, I believe. I'm a sucker for singer-songwriters. I mean, if they're good, there's a lot of maybe kind of subpar ones, but yeah, I think he's super talented. I think that the whole album is a great storytelling piece, specifically for like the region that he's in. There's a little bit of kind of like that, kind of like radio friendly kind of like pop play to it. You know what I mean? Like think about like kind of Taylor Swift when it was like country pop kind of merge. So some of that, but still very kind of like rooted. And he's been selling out stuff internationally. Like his tour went on, and then tickets sold out everywhere. I can't afford to go to concerts anymore. I was looking into Lana Del Rey has a relatively new album, so she's like starting her tour. And so I logged into Ticketmaster. I was like 2,000th in line. And then they basically all got scalped. And so they were on resale for like $500 a ticket in a stadium, which is like insane. So I'm grateful for, I don't know, just watching YouTube videos of people playing live, like maybe get a nice bottle of wine and just sit at home, and watch people. But Noah Khan, I think that's a great new album that I guess I've been listening to a lot lately.
Gonna go and look that up. All right. So then my next question, last question, and question that I ask everyone: what is your favorite thing to eat? Like, what is your favorite dish? Or it can be a dish, a snack, a food group. I don't know, whatever. But what's your favorite thing to eat?
Yeah, I kind of like mix it up a lot. I guess I'd say to that, I'm like the crock pot king. I love crock pots. I just put anything in a crock pot and it works out beautifully. It's like one of a great invention. So you can do crock pot, chicken, pasta, soups. You can do pretty much anything except for maybe ice cream.
That's true.
Oh my God.
It's great. It's a simple. It's a simple thing. It's this big, heavy, like black porcelain box that you just plug into the wall. You just dump a bunch of shit in, and 4 hours later, it's perfect.
Done. I'm thinking chili. I'm thinking stew. I'm thinking pork shoulder. I am so hungry, y'all.
I know.
Yeah. I think another good question is that I think that there are people that are like cheese people and bread people. And so well, it could be both, if it was like an ideal world, but let's say we're not in an ideal world, you have to separate it, right? So you have like the cheese and cracker crew. All right. Yes. That would be my wife. She's definitely like the cheesemonger. And I just love bread. It's like, I'm like the bread and dip person, right? So like naan and hummus, or like tzatziki, or like a nice like focaccia with like a good olive oil with some balsamic. So you have to like choose. You get to have your cheese and your crackers, or you can have your breads and your dips. So I'm a bread and dip person. I love bread so much that like beer is probably like my favorite beverage, other than obviously like waters and things, it's just liquid bread. So any sort of bread, I'm into it.
Oh my God, I love it. I'm hungry. I'm just like, where can I get? I'm guessing you were like on Bread Talk during the pandemic. Were you on TikTok, or did you see any of the bread making videos?
I did see the bread making. Yeah, my mom makes a killer sourdough. So every time I come home for Christmas, she has it, and I'm from the South too. So like my nanan, that's my grandma. So I call my nanan, or call my grandma my nanan. So when I come home around Christmas, my nanan makes the biscuits from scratch. And then my mom makes the bread from scratch. So it's just bread all the way, like biscuits, sourdough. If I ever went to Italy, I would just just a glass of wine and like put the bread there. I don't even need like the noodles or anything, just the bread and the oil. Like I'm happy. I'm good to go.
The seasoning. Oh my God. I'm in my mind living my best life right now.
Really?
I'm dissociating and going into bread heaven.
Oh man. I mean, I could talk about bread all day, but my last question for you, Lacey, is what is your favorite thing to do with your favorite people?
Oh, a favorite thing to do with my favorite people. I guess, well, I don't hang out with many people much. It seems like I feel like such an isolationist. I feel like when the older you get, the more the like friendship time kind of gets divided, because everybody has their different schedules and different routines and obligations and so forth. I guess like the only kind of social aspect is like at night, my wife and I will like cook dinner together, and then we'll watch something on TV. The thing we just finished, I think it came out like a couple of years ago, but it's a series called The Outsider, and it is a adaptation of Stephen King, one of his series or books, and it's on HBO. Super recommend it. It's very well done.
Okay.
So that's my pastime. As boring as it sounds, I just like make dinner with my wife with the crock pot. And then we retreat to the one room where we have a small TV, and we just like watch something like we're this like 72-year-old couple that's been married for 50 years, and we're in bed by 9 o'clock on a Saturday. Yeah, it's a very disappointing answer. I feel like when people look at me, they're like, they look at me and they're like, you look so much fun. Like, what do you do? I bet you do fun things. And it's like, no, I just look very youthful. And like, I go out on the town, and like, I have an enormous array of friends. It's like, no, I hide in my house with the AC up to 82 because it's 110 degrees outside. And I like nap with my dogs in the afternoon. You know, I'm so old, but so young.
You're describing a slice of heaven to me. Okay. Yeah. You know, the question was like, what do you do? What is your favorite thing to do with your favorite people? Clearly your favorite person is your wife. So like cooking, eating, watching a good show, like that is fantastic. Sign me up / that's also my life.
And that's the life I aspire to. So I'm just jealous. I'm like, yes, I want to be like in bed by 9 with like my boo and just cuddle up. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Okay. So we've beyond skimmed the surface. We've already started to get personal. But let's officially kick things off. If you can share a poem with us.
Yeah, I was thinking about what I wanted to do. And as I mentioned, I have a lot of work, and this is the newest iteration of it. We all make it out in the end. That was edited by your very own Chibi. So yeah, I was thinking I was going to read some poems that I hardly ever read. So this will be the first time that I've shared this poem out loud. It's called What of the Humans? You think of every lightning bug you have ever held captive, the hermit crabs you didn't mean to starve, but did. How you watched your childhood neighbor bash the brains out of living frogs against the wall. How you have seen police do the same, but to people. You think about every time you hit the dog and how the dog came back each time. You remember in biology class how your body caved with an unexpected sadness when you learned what we call the ravens, and in kindness, how we describe a group of crows, a murder. What must the animals call us? An unhappiness of humans? When they watch us war with one another, do we become a hostility of humans? Do they warn each other when they see us and howl, a harmful of humans are approaching? I don't know why we ever anointed ourselves with the word humane. I think the animals have always seen us for who we are, a hurting of humans. They say, look, oh, how terribly wounded they all are. I like the effect. It's like the little choir clap. Very nice.
Hearing you read, I've read that poem multiple times, and hearing you read it always really re-emphasizes the tenderness at which you approach your writing, right? And the subjects that you're writing about. Your writing feels really delicate while still being very, very poignant, right? Can you talk a little bit about like that kind of like perspective on how you look at these like very, very big, very heavy subjects, but then approach them from a way that really holds them and delivers them to the reader in a tender way.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm very much an optimist, and so a lot of my work really over the years really kind of has a lot of just like optimism about it. And I really wanted to dig in deeper on how, even though I am an optimist, I do see things quite negatively that exist in the world. But I don't want to just discard everything because of how sad it is or depressing or whatnot. And a lot of the writing that deals with these kind of topics, I consciously and effortlessly wanted to put my focus on animals and how they have existed for so long, you know, I mean, like so many different species and so forth, and how must they, like the humanity of them, the humanness, if you will, of them, or the animalness of them, and kind of try to find grace in their experience whenever, you know, I don't have it in mine, you know, looking at the world sometimes. But I don't know. I mean, I think I'm more of a gentle writer than an aggressive one, if that makes sense. Like there is a delicateness to my storytelling, and there's moments where I can be a little bit more kind of daggery at certain individuals or whatnot. But you know, at the core, that's kind of just who I am and what I want to, how I want to write and what I want to write to.
I love that.
I don't know if that answered your question. I feel like I just kind of threw a lot of words out to attempt to answer it, but
it's great. It's great. It's your show, really. We're just
it really is. We're just here to ask questions with you.
Yeah, I was having the hardest time explaining writing because it's such like an experience, you know. Like for me, it's like the work is it's there, it's written, you know, like it's out, it's free in the world, like come to your own conclusion about it. But I love discussion, you know. I am a reader, and I do like to, you know, analyze other people's works and experience it. But for me, I have the hardest time just kind of like articulating what it is, just because I try so hard to make it apparent on the page, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, I really, truly appreciate that. I think throughout the years, you're originally from Mississippi, but you reside and you've been in Texas for a long time. You've been basically in the South for a long time. And I think now for listeners who are not from the South, I think they have such a polarized image of what the South can be, but you bring in this gentleness. And I guess, like, do you incorporate nature from just Mississippi, Texas, I think Louisiana too, and how do you humanize it, and how do you, I guess, make the space that you take up and live in gentle for those who are not part of the South?
Yeah, I think it's because I have such a close proximity to it. So I'm from Mississippi. My roots go back all like way, like almost to like the beginning. It seems like I was the first person out of 4 living generations to have left the state of Mississippi. Wow. I met every single one of my great grandmothers, with them living to be, some of them well over 100 years old. So I have such a deep understanding and history of these people. They're not characters to me, how they would be if you're not from there. You know, all you have is the stories that you hear and what you read about. There's a lot of validity to those stories too. There's a lot of validity to these quote unquote characters. But at the end of the day, I just have an intimate history and understanding with certain folks. And my mom's side of the family is, just as poor as you possibly could be. So it's an incredibly disenfranchised group of people who, like, here's one story. Like, my mama, who would be my great grandmother on my mom's side, she was a midwife, and her husband was a sharecropper, and then they also did some bootlegging too. Now she told me a story. Like, she saw the story of when she saw the first car, and it was a Model T. It was this black clankety smoke coming up, over the hill, and she literally thought it was a demon because there was no books, there was no education. There was the only thing she had was that is what the devil looks like. This black smoky thing coming up over the hill. There was no understanding that could be a car. Like, there was no word for it, So those are some of the stories that I've been working on to bring to life in later work. So like a collection of short stories that are essentially based in a very real reality, but gives humanity to this like subset of people that I deeply care about, but I am also deeply troubled by some of these people at the same time. And that just shows the duality of human beings, not to regurgitate the same quote that everyone tends to use in poetry circles, which is we contain multitudes. But I think Walt Whitman said it pretty great. I mean, we do. Human beings contain a lot of shit, for better or worse. You're from the South, from the North, from this country or that country, like we're very complex and but also like simple at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's you contain so many. I love. This is the first time I'm hearing about this short story collection. I'm so excited about it because, you do have such a direct connection to history, right? And we've actually been talking a lot on this podcast about archival work, right? And what poetry and storytelling does in order to preserve our histories, right? And, anyone that's from the South or understands that it is not always the friendliest place for queer people as we navigate our life through it. But like you said, there's like a complexity to it. Do you feel like what is that kind of like responsibility of sharing these stories and exploring these multitudes of very real people in your life, right?
Yeah. I think it's for me personally, it's challenging. It's important. I've definitely pissed off a good amount of people by writing poems and stories. And I've had, members of family kind of like excommunicate me for a little bit after they read, some of the things. But at the end of the day, I'm a storyteller. And so stories it's a fabric for me. It's a connective tissue that is how we can relate to other people. And I believe that there's so much learning and truth in them. And I try to be delicate as I can be, but also honest. If people get offended by some of these stories when they're about them, again, I try to have a sensitivity about it, but at the same time, it's like, I didn't make that story up. You know what I mean? Like, you did that shit and I wrote about it. And if you didn't want that to happen, then I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. But I really do try to do it in like in an earnest and sincere and a delicate way. I don't write things in an attempt to shame people or to get a particular agenda across. It's just a way of sharing something that I think that is important and interesting, and to demonstrate a humanity to it. Like some of my favorite like characters in literature in literature are always the ones that like they have a flaw. You know what I mean? So there can be some dark people. Like Flannery O'Connor is like a writer from the South. She's kind of like Southern Gothic, and all of her characters had like some. Well, not all of them, but there was always an anti-hero, and she did it really fucking well. You know what I mean? And I think that just goes back to like that's how people are, you know. And so I don't know. It's I want to be honest about, you know, where I come from, but also, you know, yeah, I don't know. That I guess that's my long-winded way to talk about people from the South or storytelling.
No, I think that's, again, I think that's really, really important to analyze the characters and ourselves when you're writing, right? Because we're not perfect people. And nor should we depict a perfect world. We can dream about it, right? But I think the flaws is what makes us human, and owning up to them as well. Yeah. So in speaking of that, I think this is a perfect time to ask you for your second and last poem.
Yeah, I wasn't going to do this one, or wasn't planning on doing it, but I think it fits really well in the topic that we were just discussing. So, and this is, well, yeah, I'll just read the poem. Sam says if you swallow a tablespoon of local honey, you won't get sick with the allergies. He says swallow it down with a cup of faucet water. No ice. Sam says sunscreen was invented just for people who don't like to get their hands dirty. Sam's never been out of Mississippi. Sam says school is for suckers, which is why he dropped out when he was 15. He says when a tornado comes, you best be in a bathtub or in a doorway. Sam says he can fix anything by hand, blindfold. I believe him. My second cousin from a long line of Southern sweat workers and backbreakers. You can tell the lineage of a man by the size of his hands. And Sam's hands are Texas grapefruits, red, slightly bruised, with pink around the edges, fingernails stained in grease. They are full of juice and blood and hot sweat, calloused as tough as leather stretched around each knuckle like a stubborn tarp. What Sam won't say is that he sniffs every flower like the finest perfume, makes the prettiest defense about it, says his nose is so sharp he can smell where the bees have eaten and fucked. I tell Sam, nobody knows what you know, and we both laugh at the ambiguity of what that means. Sam don't comment like the other guys do about my boy jeans. He just says, I think we're wearing the same pair. They fit you all right? And I know what he means. Sam once beat a grown man's jaw into the pulp of the earth without ever breaking a sweat just because the man made a comment about what he would do to me once I went through puberty. Through curdled blood, the man fumbled through the hole in his lip and said, I'll kill you, son. Sam handed him his own gun and said, you kill me, I'll haunt you so bad your own ghost will shoot itself. Sam and I never spoke about that incident because I didn't know whether to thank him or beat the shit out of him for almost getting himself locked up or killed over something as dumb as that. Sam tells me, I love you just the way you are, cousin. Sam says, if anyone does you wrong, I'll break every knuckle. I'll bite off their goddamn tongue.
No, when you were like, I wasn't going to read this one, but it feels, I was like, please do Blood Cousin. Please do Blood Cousin. Honestly, that's one of my favorite poems in that collection.
Yeah, I'm like speechless.
I want to hear Rocky's reaction. And because like I'm very familiar with that poem. I love it. We could go into all of that. But Rocky, you.
Yeah, this is my first time hearing it. And I am just full of emotions right now. I think, so much emotions, right? From just family members who are just kind of stuck in a certain mindset at a certain place, but they love you fiercely and they see you and they don't ask too many questions, right? And I think for me, even with like my family who are immigrants, they all kind of say some out of pocket stuff of like, no, like you need to put Vicks on your feet so you don't get sick, right? and like put calcetines on and all that stuff. But I think I'm on a journey with like my cousins who maybe not have the language of like my queerness and my identity, but they love me fiercely and they try and they really do show up. And I think that's just, so it just reminds me of my family and it really reminds, and I miss Texas too. So it really I miss like the way that you were just talking, your cadence of it all. And just, I could feel you and your family in it. So I don't have a question. I'm just like giving you like feedback because I'm just overwhelmed.
I think it speaks to the power of your work, right? The authenticity of which you write, like we said earlier, the tenderness and the delicateness of which you approach these really, really heavy subjects. And so in the course of this book and your first book, you really talk about like your journey out of Mississippi, right? Like you said, you were the first person in multiple generations to like leave the state. And I'm curious if you could share some of that experience, like the moment in which you like decided like, like, I think there's more to life than this. I need to go out. I need to leave, from what seems like a really tight knit family,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so I have like 3 self-published books and then 2 published ones. So the first published one was And Then Came the Flood. That was Timber Mouse. And then 10 years later was We All Make It Out in the End. And when I look at the 2 published works, they're both like a coming of age collection. That's not just about my coming of age. It's like a queer coming of age. So, And Then Came the Flood is very much like how you are and how you feel in your 20s. I can take on the world, motherfucker. Like, come at me. Like, I can do everything all the time at once. It's like, so there's a lot of the youthfulness and there's a lot of queer joy and there's a lot of like crushing on people, and then We All Make It Out at the End kind of continues that because I'm in my 30s now. And these poems, I didn't just sit down and write this, collection all in the course of a year. I mean, these are poems that have that have come to me over the course of 10 years. So it's been like kind of a slow burning and a slow kind of culmination. So there's still very much that journey out of Mississippi in this collection. It's just deeper. I actually go more into family where I did not go into family, and Then Came the Flood, and Then Came the Flood was more me as an individual. And then this one, some of the poems in here go into the backstory, go into the history of who I am, not just the surface of where I am today. Blood Cousin came about in a not so much conscious way. Have you ever, like, when you're writing, you just feel this like a force, like you're almost like possessed. You're just like find yourself and you're just like, I don't know what the fuck's happening, but like, I don't know, just document it. It's like a spirit just like kind of came over you. So that was kind of what happened with Blood Cousin. And then reading it, I was discovering the story for the first time. And that's often what happens as writers. Like the first draft is you learning the story, right? Like it's you just like being a part of the initial process, you know? The second time is like, oh, is that it? Is that what it's about? You know, it's like you have a little bit more of a deeper, you know, sort of thing. So Blood Cousin, again, like I didn't really know what was happening. I just felt it. And and the energy in that first draft of it was just like so pulsing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I came back and looked at it a little bit more, I was like, oh, this is a culmination of like how I felt growing up in the South, but also how queer people feel, you know, no matter where they are. It's not, I mean, there's still homophobes that live in California, you know what I mean? They're not designated just to like Southern states. They're everywhere because gay people are, surprise, everywhere too, you know? So in short, what I wanted to do with that poem is to take bits of my family and that history, but then I wanted to flip the narrative where what happens when the most unlikely member of your family does become your most ferocious protector. Mm-hmm. Like how, because oftentimes that is not what happens. There's a lot of harm and danger that happens in the place for LGBTQ youth in the home. You know, and that is supposed to be a sanctuary. That is supposed to be the thing that has your family's supposed to have your back. They're supposed to be the most ardent ally. But for queer youth, that demographic, that often isn't the case. So that was kind of like the light bulb click where what if I can change that as a writer? What if I can take the essence of this person? And I do have a cousin named Sam. And like this, you know, this, like, if you were, you know, driving down the road and you see this like burly fucking dude with like hairy knuckles and, you know, on the side lots, you know, in the middle of nowhere, Mississippi, your immediate thought's going to be like, this guy is terrifying. Like he's like one hate crime waiting to happen, but he's not a villain, as it turns out. Like he's the one that's going to come after the people that are doing harm to like this group of people. So anyway, that's that was kind of the impetus behind that particular poem. And it's also the catalyst for a larger work that I'm working on right now that kind of shares similar stories.
Thank you. No, again, thank you so much for choosing that poem and giving us a little bit more insight on it. Now that I collect my words, you know, I think this will probably be our second to last question, but what do you hope when, like, especially like queer LGBTQ youth, like pick up your work, right? Where do you hope that they find sanctuary? Like what kind of healing do you wish upon them when they read your work?
Yeah, I definitely want them to feel a connection, a deep connection, you know, that like you are not the only one, you aren't alone. And I want them to see themselves in the work, not just where like I'm the focal point, the author, but like they are the focal point where the work transports them into the story. Like here they are, you know, they're not just reading about someone else's that mirrors them. We kind of like join in that moment. So yeah, I want them to, I would love for queer people to have a sanctuary in the work. And then for non-queer people to have an understanding of what these experiences look like and how there's a humanity amongst us all, you know, like queer people are not scary people. I mean, maybe some of us could be like intimidating because we're so sexy, but I mean, like, we are like some like, you know, like a Jabberwocky in the woods waiting to like take your children, you know what I mean? Like that is a crazy thing, you know? So I try to write where there's a little bit of something for everyone. Not because I'm like, oh, I don't want to offend anybody, but just because I think it's important to, for people to try to find something that's like connective among us instead of just divisions, So I try to kind of have something where we can all sit around the table to discuss instead of like yell across the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think one of the things that I enjoy the most about your work is that there's a very strong sense of place, right, in your writing and in your collections, and oftentimes that place is a kind of home, and finding that kind of home. And so it very much is like a welcoming of like, hey, you can be here, and hey. So it's a joy to read, and the book is a wonderful journey to go through, and highly recommend. I'm really excited that you kind of like teased us with your next project. Way to just like drop it on there and then like walk away from it. So our last question, we asked this of everybody on the show, is as you're looking towards the future, right, and the next chapter of your life, if the next chapter of your life was a poem, what would be the title of that poem?
Wow, that's a great question. I've never thought about that. Wow, the next title. I have no idea. I would say journey, because I just feel like I'm on this journey and I have no idea where it's going to take me. But that's the beautiful thing about a journey. You're not so worried on the destination. It's just the path of you going. So it would just be a very simple title, Journey.
Perfect.
Hey, don't stop believing, baby.
Yes.
Sorry.
Love it. No, thank you. Thank you again, Lacey. It was really great to meet you. I know that you've worked intensely with Chibi. And this is our first time meeting, but I am really sitting with your words. And while I'm at home, you've even made it feel even homier after hearing your words. So thank you so, so much. And then if you can, where can people find you and find your work so they can also experience what I just felt?
Yeah. There's a lot of videos and recordings of me doing poetry live on Right About Now. His YouTube page. They're also the publisher of this book. They'll make it out in the end. You can find on their website. I have my own website too, Lacey Roop, LaceyEYROOP.com. So you can order there and find more links or info as to where I'll be next. So yeah, pretty simple. Just a Google search. All the information you can wrap your mind around.
My favorite thing when people become Googleable. It's like, just Google me. I'm there,
What a stunt, right? Just like, it's my whole name is on Google. Just Google me. That is like such a flex.
Very much so. Well, thanks for taking the time. This has been a great conversation, Lacey.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Hi, friend.
Hi, friend.
Wow, I was definitely not prepared to be so in my feels.
I was prepared to see you get into it. I know Lacey's work. I know what's about to happen. And I was here for it. I think, we talk a lot about finding a sense of like belonging, right? Yeah. And what that journey looks like. And I think Lacey's work really encapsulates that and allows you to take that journey yourself, right?
Yes.
And I know both of us have been on quite a journey. Oh my God, now we're just saying the word journey all the time.
I know. Go ahead. It's okay. I love it. I love how Lacey said they're on the next journey, right, for their chapter. And I feel like even season 4 of Words and Shit is on its new journey as well, and ourselves too. And I love that Lacey's work really just invites this like what they had said slow burn. I felt that slow burn today. I felt that slow burn of love, of familiarity, of home. I think I can't express enough the hominess of it from their work too.
100%. Well, if you haven't gotten the book, make sure you do. WANpoetry.com. You can go find it there. I think .com/Lacey. I think where you can go. But let's journey out of here, shall we?
Yes, let's journey out here and let's thank some people. So I want to say thank you to the listeners here at Words and Shit. We make this podcast for poetry lovers like you out there, and we thank you for supporting us and these beautifully spoken words that you listen to with each episode.
Yes, thank you also to Chris Condé, who produced our theme music for this podcast. Go support queer artists like Chris Condé, always, all the time, everywhere.
Yes. And I want to say thank you to Write Art Out and the City of San Antonio Department of Arts and Culture, whose support has helped produce this podcast.
And if you're joining us for the first time and you don't already connect with us, we're all about connecting and community. So follow us on IG and Threads. I'm done saying Twitter. We're off Twitter, maybe. I don't know. At Words and Shh. And DMs are always open. So if you have a poet that you think should be on this show, let us know. Let us know what you think of the episodes. And, we'll try and get them on.
Yes. If you like what you heard on this episode, guess what? We have even more amazing poets and amazing episodes that you can listen to on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts on.
And don't forget to like and subscribe, rate and review. It really helps get the word out about the show so that more people can find out about these incredible poets and get to know the person behind the poetry.
Yeah, and just to let you know, this is a Gem and Eyes Productions podcast.
Until next time, people, stay safe out there.